We live?
Live.
Oh, God. All right. Thanks, Curtis. Allergies. Achoo! Oh, my gosh. If you haven't had them before, they suck. What's going on, Secoya Nation? This is Dr. Schilling with today's Wellness Wisdom. And bringing today's Friday edition, which I don't normally do, because I was not around on Tuesday, I believe it was. At any rate, so here we go. Let's get some depth of understanding of the triggers from a neuroemotional standpoint of what might be causing some of your allergy symptoms. A lot of people get sneezing, a lot of people have histamine issues, things like that. So we'll talk in a moment about the brain-body connection between allergies and your health, but we do want you to encourage you to share this with your friends and family, because Lord knows there's plenty of people out there with allergies or allergy symptoms. We'll call it the air quote symptoms, because ultimately, if you understand that it's a symptom, because if I don't have allergies but you have allergies, it's all about how your body reacts to the environment and not necessarily mine. Some people think, well, I've had allergies all my life and this and that. Well, you've also had the same stressors all your life. So you're the same person that's been throughout your life, and you're reacting to different things the same way, and as a result, you're having the symptoms. So, yeah, let's dive into it. So mold, unworthy, fear of being found out, unable to say no. That's like environmental mold. People talk about snow mold up in here in the Midwest, in Minnesota. We talk about snow mold, but mold in the environment, like in your basement or in your garage or things like that. We live in wood homes with sheetrock, and that typically brings mold with it, because mold tends to feast on cellulose, and so therefore every structure has mold in it to some extent. Just depends on the level of mold in that exposure. So if we're talking about skin allergies, like my family, I used to have it really bad. I don't have as much anymore because I've done a bunch of brain work, but my daughter recently got to experience the itchiness of what it feels like to roll around the grass. And so that's like holding on to grief or a separation conflict. So remember, it doesn't have to be like a current thing, but it can be an inherited stress. And not like, you can inherit cancer, or your mom had that, but it is the same idea, like the same wiring tendency. So that gets handed down from generation to generation in some respects, but it can be overcome, because I'm living proof of not having asthma anymore. I had it for 35 years. Food allergies are still something I'm working on, but these things can change. I'm living proof of that. So if we think about sinuses, people that get sinusitis, get like runny nose, itchy nose, things like that. So things that stink, things that are offensive, things you can't change. A stench we can't escape. It's like that fishy smell. So when we get that nasal irritation, and it happens during a season, I typically think about a way of explaining it is, if I have experienced a challenging time in the past, some people call it traumatic experience, some people don't, but a severe trauma, a stress, something that shifted my nervous system enough during a season like spring, then I will manifest those symptoms every year, because my brain associates stress with the time of year, with the molecules in the air, with the people in my life, and things like that. And some years might be worse than others for you. You hear like, allergy season's terrible this year. Well, that's not necessarily because of the airborne allergies, because they don't typically change all that dramatically to tip the scale as much. But so hay, people, like when I was a kid, I went to hay loft, and I ended up going to the emergency room as a result, because I had a strong hay allergy. And I recently went to Florida and experienced some bronchial constriction as a result of driving around a hay field that had been harvested. And that's interesting, because I hadn't had asthma-like symptoms, but it was really more of that reaction to the hay. So I thought I was over that one, but it's an example for you, based on my own experience, that these things still can trigger, just not to the extent, like it didn't send me to the ER at that time. But, how do you separate? The hay is about how do you separate from, in farming they say, separate the wheat from the chaff, I think is what they say. Don't quote me on that. But how do you separate from that person, that situation, those feelings? So hay is about an inability to separate, or a desire for separation. Think about, who did you separate last year? If you didn't have allergies and all of a sudden you have allergies, like who did I separate from last year? And that'll help you understand the trigger of the time frame of the year and who it was and stuff like that. Dust, doubt, disbelief, can't trust others, things like that. So that's dust. So I oftentimes, people say something like, well, when there's dust, I sneeze. Well, I thought the same concept when I was a kid, because I used to dust the house and I'd sneeze. But what I realized is now as I got older, I dust and I don't sneeze anymore. And it's not because there's not as much dust in the air, It's because I react to it differently because of the stuff I've done, the work I've done through QNRT. So, but for dust, it's like, remember the phrase ashes to ashes, dust to dust? It's like the fear of death is what dust is related to. And again, I don't know how that works into your life. I don't know how that works into your family and who you inherited it from. This is just the research that I'm finding. But separating from conflict at home is another respect. Like I can tell you firsthand, like the conflict we had in our home when I was a kid growing up, that would have been enough to drive anybody to sneeze. So the separation from conflict and things at home, that's a big challenge. So I'm just trying to give you a smattering of the different allergies. There are certainly more. There's grasses and trees and stuff like that, but these are some common ones like skin and sinusitis and hay and dust and stuff like that, mold and things like that. So I want to bring those to your attention so you can start pondering like, okay, if I sneeze, it's not necessarily because I have an exposure to an airborne allergen. I could have eaten or drunk something, and as a result, then I create a histamine response. So like I might drink something, it might flare up my yeast cultures in my body. Yeast is commonly known to have a byproduct of putting off more histamines and things like that. So take these to heart, study them, understand them, see how they apply to you. You guarantee you know somebody who has allergies, so share it with them, empower them to understand their body and their mind. If you have a question about your particular allergy or something like that, I'll see if I can find something about it, so feel free to post below. So we'll be happy to bring that to you if I can find that information. There's no guarantee, but I'll do my best. So appreciate you, love you. Hope you all have an amazing weekend, and wherever you live, wherever the temperature is like, whatever the weather's like, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad preparation. So get outside, enjoy nature, because that's where life really is. Okay? All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. Love you. Bye.